Alright, so we are going to learn the Pythagorean Theorem. Now this has been a skill that I feel like is strong for us. First we're going to go over parts of a right triangle, then we're going to go over the actual theorem. So the Pythagorean Theorem is used for right triangles only to identify if it is a right triangle. We can also use it to find out if it's not a right triangle. So those are some things that we do use Pythagorean Theorem. We also use it for distance. So to find the distance from one location to the other, the Pythagorean Theorem is used as well that way. So in a right triangle, the two sides that are adjacent to the right angle, okay, are known as the legs. So what does adjacent mean? It means it connects. Okay, it means that they're going to touch or meet at a certain point. Okay, so we have A and B. So A and B. Okay, these are adjacent because they're gonna touch here. Okay, this is a right triangle symbol. Okay, right triangle symbol represents 90 degrees. Okay, we always want to draw this line across from the right triangle symbol because that's going to tell us our C. Okay, our C is very important. Okay, our C is going to represent the hypotenuse. Okay, it's called the hypotenuse. When you get into geometry, this is a lot of Pythagorean theorem that's used in geometry. So this is more of a geometry skill than an algebra skill, but it's definitely necessary for high school. Okay, this is going to be or C. The hypotenuse is always the longest side. Okay, it's always the longest side, but it is also the shortest distance. So it's like the shortcut to get from one point to the other. Okay, so keep that in mind. Even though it's going to be the biggest number, it's also the shortest distance. Okay. Now, the Pythagorean theorem tells us how the side lengths of right triangles are related. Okay. If any right triangle, the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two. And I will let you know what I mean by that. Okay. You can pause this video at any point. So if at any point you're still writing, please pause the video so you're able to write down everything. Remember, to get credit, you gotta write down everything. You gotta write down, please. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get this. No, I can't get the blind, so I'll just leave it like it is. Okay. So we said the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. This relationship can be represented by the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, when I say squared, I mean an actual square. Okay, an actual shape. Okay, so what this means is you have an actual square. Okay, so the area of a square plus an area of a little bit bigger square is going to equal the area of the biggest square. Okay, these two are going to equal this square. Okay, these two small ones are going to equal the big one. Small, medium, big. Okay, so this is area is going to equal this big area here. Okay, so now we're going to label first. We're going to label A, B, and C on each of the right triangles below. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Okay, so it's very important that you understand where the A, the B, and the C are. Okay, so first thing I want you to do is always draw your arrow coming from your right triangle symbol. Okay? That's going to tell you your C. That's your most important one, honestly. If you know your C, your A and your B are just your other sides, okay? Now, A is always going to be your smallest number, B is always going to be your middle number, and C is always going to be your longest or your biggest number on your right triangle. Okay, so we can say this is A, we can say this is B, we can say this is A, this is B, we can say this is A, this is B, we can say this is A, this is B, okay? But the most important thing that the C must be opposite of the right triangle, okay? It must be opposite, okay? That C is what matters. The A and B can switch, okay? A and B can switch. It doesn't really matter. But C have to be opposite, okay? C has to be opposite that right triangle. The right triangle symbol. Hello? Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So for example 1, what we're going to do is we're going to label, and then we're going to substitute the known values into the Pythagorean theorem, and then we're going to solve. We're going to find a missing variable. Okay. So what we're going to do is let's label first. We're going to label A, B, and C. Okay. So A is always your smallest number. Okay. So we can say this is A. We can say this is B. How do we know that this is C? That's a good question to kind of stop here and kind of ask yourself. How do we know that this is C? Good question. Well, what you should have said or kind of thought about is, hey, we know it's C because it's opposite of the right triangle symbol. That's how you know. Okay? So what is the Pythagorean theorem? Okay, the Pythagorean theorem is going to be A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay? So now we're going to substitute the known values into the Pythagorean theorem. Okay? All right. We have 3 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. Okay? Now this is where calculator is important. Okay? So now I'm going to grab my calculator and I'm going to do 3 squared plus 4 squared. Okay? 3 squared plus 4 squared is going to equal 25. So I know that the largest square, the area of the largest square is 25. Okay? And we're in inches. Okay? So what do I mean by that? Okay, these are actual squares here. I want y'all to actually see. This is actually a square. The area of this square is 25. Okay, and then the area of these two smaller ones are going to equal this 25. 4 times 4, or 4 squared, is 16. 3 times 3, kind of messed that one up, but it's okay. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 16 equals that 25, and that's what you're trying to find. Okay. Now, what is C? C is the side length. Okay, so we had a topic of how to take square roots. Okay, before we even got to this, we've been learning foundational skills. So the square root actually helps you find the side, okay, the side length of the square. Okay, remember when you're dealing with a square, all the sides are the same number. Okay, so if I take the square root of 25, what am I going to get? Okay, square root of 25. Calculator, if you don't know on top of your head, what number times itself equals that number inside, which is 25? Well, 5. 5 times 5 equals 25, so that's why it is C. So C equals, let me say C equals 5. Okay? Make sure you pause this video at any point. Okay, please. I know it's a lot of information. Replay the video. Ask questions. Whatever you want to do. Make sure you understand this. Okay. So I'm gonna do one more example. Actually, I'm gonna do 2 more examples. I'm gonna do number 2, and I'm gonna go to the back side and then do number 4. Okay. So now let's look at number 2. Number 2 says 24/7. Let's draw that right. That arrow going from a right triangle symbol. What did that tell you? Well, that's the C. So what we have is we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay? So what number is going to be the A? Well, what number is the smallest that you see? Oh, 7. What number is going to be the B? Well, it has to be 24. C is the longest side. Okay. We're going to plug it into the formula. 7 squared plus 24 squared equals C squared. Okay. Calculator. Do 7 squared plus 24 squared. I'm going to set that equal to. Okay, so I have 625 equals the area of C squared. Okay, so that's the area. So what is the side length? Okay, what times itself equals 625? Now you might be asking, why are we finding that? Because it's area. Area is multiplied. Okay, to find the area of a square, you do length times width. Okay, or base times height, whatever you want to say. Okay, so what times itself is going to equal that 625? Okay, so take the square root of that. Square root of 625. We got our answer. Okay, square root of 625 is going to equal C, which is going to be 25. Let's say it up here. 25, there we go. Okay. If you eat around to the nearest tens, we learned that as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. Let's go to number 4. The reason why I want to do number 4 is because it's a little bit different. Okay. So for number 4, where's our C? Where's our C? Okay. Remember, our C is always across from the right triangle symbol, so our C has to be 13. Okay, so this is a little bit different. So now, let's say we have our A. A is 5, okay? We're still going to do the same thing. We're going to write the formula down. We're going to plug in our numbers, so we're going to say 5 squared plus B squared equals 13 squared. Okay. But now we're trying to figure out what this is, what our B is. So we got to get B by itself. So what we're going to do, so instead of adding A and the B, we're actually going to subtract this time. We're going to subtract this from the C. Okay, so we're going to do 13 squared minus 5 squared. Okay, 13 squared minus 5 squared in the calculator is 144. So I know that b squared equals 144. That is the area. The area of that square is 144 inches, because that's our unit. Okay, but now what is its side? That's what we're trying to find. So what times itself is 144? Well, take the square root. Square root of 144, 12. That's our answer. Okay. All right. Try these questions. Okay. Work with them. Some of these you will have to actually draw a picture. So use your imagination. A rectangular pool. I'll help y'all out with this one. Rectangle. Okay, how many meters would Andy need to swim in order to swim a diagonal? Diagonal means from corner to corner. Okay, a rectangle pool has a measure of 25 and 50. Okay, that's your right triangle right there. A pole vaulter rests a 7-foot pole against a wall. Okay, if the top of the pole hits the wall 14 feet above the ground, how far from the wall is the bottom of the pole? Okay, so you have this happening here. So this is going to be 17-foot pole against a wall. So 17 is here. The wall is 14 feet above. Okay, there you go. Helped y'all out with that. Okay, ask questions, ask your neighbor. Okay, collaborate, help each other out with this. Okay, so remember, one more other thing. Okay, so if they give you perimeter, let's say, let's go down to number 10. If they give you perimeter, that means addition. Okay, so what number can we add together to get 28? Okay, so for this one, I'm going to help you. 28 divided by 4, let's see. So that's 7. So that means that 7, 7, 7, 7. It's all 7s all around. Okay, perimeter of this one. So that means that each side is 24. Okay. So remember, you're trying to figure out what Malachi did wrong. Okay. All right. If you have questions, let me know. Try your best with this. I will also provide the answer key, so you'll be able to kind of go off that as well. Once you get done with this, you're going to go to the independent practice. Okay? Try your best. Good luck.